it goes back to when you're looking in the mirror. And that's one of the things I learned from somebody that's very important to me, that's been a mentor without even being a mentor to me. I've never met this person, obviously. His name is David Goggins. If you haven't read his book, I read his book all the time. I just, this guy, his motivation, and he doesn't even describe it as motivation. He doesn't even believe in motivation. He believes in being driven. He believes motivation does not exist. It's about being driven. And I read his book, and I love the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's been on that podcast twice. And if you read the book, he was a Navy SEAL and went through hell. This guy's life was shit. And he's always talking about looking in the mirror and defining yourself. And I always thought to myself, looking in the mirror is one of the hardest things to do, because you always are looking into your own soul. It's hard enough to look at other people. It's something completely different when you're looking at yourself. So when you're looking in the mirror and you're looking into what is essentially your own soul, and that person on the other end in the mirror is basically telling you just through your eyes everything you need to know about yourself. If you look at it as terms of this is the present, and I try to stay in the present, there are things that are happening in the past and in the future. The past is gone, but things have happened in the past. The future is not yet set. But in some weird way, you do have an obligation to your future self, and in some ways to your past self. Remembering how someone is, or how someone was, excuse me, after they've gone from this planet. When they're gone from life and they're no longer here, we reflect on their life. And if a person has not done certain things that we consider to be life changing, or a fulfillment of life, or an influence of life on an individual, or they didn't take care of their kids, they didn't do enough, and they did this wrong, we all reflect on this person's life. Whether it's fair or unfair, that's besides the point. We lived our life. So essentially, we're leaving behind whatever someone wants to interpret about our lives. We are in a position where we can dictate what they say. They can only make up so many stories about a person that isn't true. And if you haven't done enough, you can only embellish enough stories to make someone's life grander than what it actually is. Because obviously, when someone passes away, you want to build them up to a point where you remember as much as you can about a person. And if they didn't have much to remember, you kind of think to yourself, well, wow, he must have didn't have much of a life. Which is bullshit. That's not true at all. You cannot determine for yourself the fulfillment of another person's life, especially after they're gone and they can't defend themselves. I find that to be disgusting at funerals a lot of times, which is why I unless I absolutely have to go, I try to avoid funerals because of that reason. Because you do get people who act like they've been closer to this person. They embellish. They take away accomplishments from people who deserve more, and people try to diminish this person. You know, it's sometimes funerals can be very disgusting events to attend. And I call them events because some people do make funerals events. They're not. It's almost like you're supposed to celebrate someone's life, but a celebration doesn't have to be an event. It doesn't have to be this thing where other people shined at somebody else's funeral. I just find that disgusting, and I've been thinking about that more and more about the present. When you're in the present, you have like this weird contract with your future self if you honestly care about it. Some people don't care, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm the type of person, I do try to figure out where do I want to be in the future. What I try to meditate and envision what I want to be. Because when you meditate and you envision things, when especially positive things, when they actually come to pass, you're prepared for them. You know, okay, this is it because this is what I've been envisioning. It's a very good meditation technique, and I'll talk about meditation in the future, about very good ways of making things come to pass just by meditating and being prepared for certain things, whether they're good or bad. Being prepared makes all the difference. And I always feel like when I look in that mirror at myself, that is the future person. That person in the mirror, he's telling me You need to do this. You haven't done that. You can do this better. You can do that better. And you can either owe it to yourself, or you can say to that person in the mirror, you know what? I'm not there yet. I'm still working on myself. And when you're looking at that person in the mirror, they'll tell you, no, you are ready or you aren't ready. And that's what I find so unique about the human experience, is that there are so many outer body experiences that we experience every day that have nothing to do with death. If you look at yourself in the mirror, that is an outer body experience in itself. You're looking at another person. That person just happens to be you. It's a living definition of a soul, because we can't articulate what a soul actually is. Our heart beats without our control. We don't know how our eyes work. We don't know how our brain works, but we have to deal with it. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. If you think about all the complexities of life, and each moment that passes, it's just a moment. But it's the present, it's the past and the future all wrapped up in one. And you owe it to yourself to try to put your future self in the best position possible by making yourself aware in the present that you care about your future self, and that you're doing all that you can to make sure your future self doesn't have to go through anything that you're going through now, and that future self is prepared for anything that comes at them. It's very, very important, and it's something I feel like I don't think about enough, and I know a lot of other people that I talk to don't do it enough, but it's very essential. It's life has a way of making sure you aren't prepared. And the more prepared you are, your future self will have just that much better of a time dealing with the complexities of life. And strength means everything.